Hey friends, we have quite the day here today. We've got all the different things going on. I need to order groceries. I need to make a cake box mix because I'm filming another video that you guys always love. You always love it here. So I'm gonna show you how to make my cake box mix. I'm gonna go ahead and prep dinner now. I need to hang something in the homeschool room that we just got. I'll explain that when we get to that process. We actually have new floors coming in 2 days. So I am trying to get all the things filmed and done. If you are new here, we moved into this house in 2019 with the intention of getting new floors probably in 2020. And here we are, and we are getting new floors, and I am thrilled about it. And the whole downstairs is getting the same flooring. Also, we've been here again since 2019. And when I did work here and there, I really didn't put baseboards back up. So we have a couple of places in our house that don't have baseboards, and it doesn't look great. So let's get some groceries ordered. First of all, put all that stuff away, and then I'm going to prep dinner. I have got some chicken thighs here in this bowl. You do not have to marinate these. However, I made this the other night and I intended to film it, but honestly, it was just one of those nights where I just wanted to be in the kitchen in total silence cooking. And I regretted not filming this because it was delicious. So we're making it again. We literally just had this last week. We're making it again because it was so good. So we're gonna marinate the chicken this time. Last time, I think I just made the sauce and poured it all over the top of everything, but I think it would be good to do that process. I probably could have gathered all of my ingredients beforehand, but you know, this is how this works. Some honey here. I'm gonna add some honey. This is 4 chicken thighs. I need about 3 tablespoons. You know what? Let's mix this separately, just so I can get a really good mix on it. 3 tablespoons of honey, and it might be easier if I heat it up. It's really cold in our house, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, about 3 tablespoons there. Let's add some olive oil. I'm doing about 1/8 cup. You could do more though if you want, if you feel like you need more. Now this is a little bit of a spicy recipe, but it all depends on the amount of cayenne pepper that you put in. So if you want yours to be less spicy, just add less cayenne and it will be. It's totally fine. Okay, so for the cayenne, only about 1/4 teaspoon. And again, you can actually leave it out altogether if you want. Add some chili powder. Oh, this one's new. Okay, about 2 teaspoons of chili powder. That's close enough-ish. I like to add a bit of paprika for smokiness. I did that last time as well. Pinch of salt. I'm actually gonna add a little bit more oil than that. Okay, I think when I made this last week, I was out of garlic powder, so I used grated garlic or, you know, minced garlic, but you can use whichever one. It was fine either way. So garlic powder, about 1/2 teaspoon or so, and then you can use the dried ginger if you want, but I always have this in our fridge, so I'm just gonna use this ginger. And I used last time, it was like 2 teaspoons, which is a lot more than the recipe calls for, but it added such a great flavor. So add as much as you think you will love and mix all of that together. Now, I am actually going to reserve some of this. I'm gonna put some of it on our sweet potatoes, so I'm not gonna use all of it for the chicken. Now, if you melt your honey, it'll be easier to mix around. Okay, add about half into here with the chicken. Again, if you don't have time to marinate, I did not marinate it last time. I made up this, I poured it all over the chicken and baked it. Don't stress if you don't have time to do that, okay? All right, let's just mix all that together. And I'm just gonna let it sit. I'll cover it and let it sit in the refrigerator for a little bit until we're ready to cook, because right now it is, I can't even see the time because both the oven and the timer are on, but I think it's around like 1:30 or so when I'm making this. So we'll just let it sit and then we'll bake it in a bit here. All right, this can go into the fridge and let it marinate. Okay, now one question that I get asked quite often is how do I make the dry cake mix for, like, instead of a cake box, if you don't want to buy a cake box and you want it to be without all the preservatives and everything like that. So I'm going to show that to you here in this video. And I use these right here. These are collapsible, what are these called? Funnels? Yeah, they are, right? Why am I forgetting the name of these things? Anyway, I bought these because we make a lot of bone broth and stuff like that, so I need to be able to put things into jars, but if you are putting your cake box mix into something like this, you probably don't need the funnels. But we're starting with 2 1/4 cups of flour, and it's gonna be tight. This is one of the larger wide mouth jars, the mason jars. I think they're a pint, or no, they're a quart, maybe. Okay, but it's gonna be tight when we get everything in there, but it will work. So 2 1/4. And I mean, I know it's baking, and I know you say that I shouldn't, but I've been estimating for a long time and I don't have any issues. So I'm gonna continue estimating on a lot of this. All right, so pour all that in there. It's gonna be tight, tap it down. Now we have sugar. You need 1 1/2 cups. 1 1/2. Okay, like I said, it's gonna get all the way to the top. It's gonna be tight. And we need salt and baking powder. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog, it means the delivery person is here, but that also means groceries, so, you know. 3 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder. Okay, now we're done with that. And we need a teaspoon of salt. All right, so all of that, look how perfectly it fits in here. You're gonna put the lid on and you're gonna shake it up really, really nicely so that everything combines. It's gonna take a minute, but it will work. If you want to mix it in a bowl and then use your funnel, is that what this is called, B? These are funnels, right? I'm forgetting the name all of a sudden. Okay, so if you want to put it in a bowl and then, you know, mix it in the bowl and then put it in here, it's fine, but it's one less dish to wash, which is why I typically go about it this way. You basically just wanna make sure you're seeing sugar all the way at the bottom, because I mean, you can see the separation still of sugar and flour, but I like to make sure it's all in there. All right, and there you go. You've got a box of cake mix or a jar of cake mix ready to go. It can be used in any white cake mix recipe. I use it also in yellow cake mix recipes. You can add cocoa powder to it if you want it to be a chocolate version. There's so many different things that you can do with this. And then one of the most common questions I get is, how long will this last in your pantry? Honestly, whenever I make this, we usually use it within like 2 weeks. But my assumption, okay, I'm not saying this is truth, but my assumption is that the date is whatever the earliest expiration date is of everything that you put in here. So for instance, if your flour expires in February of 2025 and your sugar expires in May of 2025 and everything else is after that, then I would assume, what did I say, February 2025? That's gonna be your expiration. Does that make sense? I mean, I might be wrong in there because you're mixing stuff together. So let me clean up some stuff here. I'm gonna put all these containers away. I'm going to make a few recipes for that other video, and then we need to do some things in the homeschool room. So I'm gonna take you up there to do that. Okay, I literally just walked upstairs to show you what I was gonna do in the homeschool room. And then I realized I don't have the stuff to hang the whiteboard that I was gonna show you. So basically, once I order it, actually, you know what? Let's just order it real quick. This is our 9th year homeschooling, and the year that we started homeschooling, I bought a whiteboard, and then I think 3 or 4 years later, we bought a second whiteboard because I have 2 in our homeschool room. The original one has really been struggling, and you can barely wipe it clean anymore. That's ruining the markers because it's just over time that just, you know, schools have to replace their whiteboards too. So anyway, I got a new whiteboard. It came in the mail today. I was gonna go hang it. Okay, so we use the Velcro command strips to hang the whiteboards. Both of them have that. All right, well, if it can't be here till Sunday, I mean, I'm gonna be out again before Sunday. Okay, let's wash hands. And I wanna tell you that a couple weeks ago, I didn't film it, but I made scones, and I made a lot of them. We prefer mini scones, not the bigger scones. So I make a double recipe, but it's already double from an original recipe because we have the mini versions. And those have been so incredibly helpful. First of all, they're delicious, but second of all, if we've had last minute company coming over or if we have somebody stopping by, I can pull them out of the freezer and they're ready in just a couple of minutes. They thaw out and it's perfect to have with a cup of coffee. We've had them at Bible study, so many different ways to use them. So we ran out officially because we had them at Thanksgiving. I had them for a Bible study. I had them when we had friends over for dinner. I mean, I made a big batch and they served us well. I made chocolate chip scones. Now I want to make orange cranberry scones because I think that sounds delicious. So let's make some. I make it with sourdough. You do not have to make it with sourdough. The sourdough just is fermented, okay? You don't have to make it with sourdough. So if you're not a sourdough fan or you don't always have a starter ready to go, it's completely fine. Don't worry about it at all. Okay, now I am gonna make a double batch just like I did last time. So a full cup of starter is what I'm gonna need. And I'm also weighing it because it's just easier for me. A half cup of whipping cream. Now I'm using the light one. You're technically for scones supposed to use the heavy one, but I already had the light, so I'm going with it, okay? You need a half cup. Which I know you guys are probably like, wait a second, we usually have recipes here. Well, this has been so helpful, we're doubling. Okay, I'm adding eggs. Two teaspoons of vanilla extract. We need 2 tablespoons of orange zest, which I'm gonna assume is about 1 orange, but I might do 2, we'll see. Okay, I think I've had that zester for so long, it's not impressing me anymore, so I'm gonna switch to this one, which I need for the butter anyway, so that's fine. I'm gonna put some of the juice in from this as well. So overall, we need like 4 tablespoons. I'll see how much I get. Yeah, I'm gonna do another orange. Fortunately, I bought a big pack of them. My son has been asking for oranges lately. So while I'm doing this, some of the questions that I've gotten, I wrote them down upstairs on in the homeschool room. So I'll just start with what I remember. One of you asked about our homeschooling journey and how that came about, how many years we've been homeschooling. And basically what happened was when our daughter was 4, our daughter missed the cutoff for school to go into kindergarten by just a couple of days. And she was fully ready for kindergarten. And so I was frustrated, obviously, because I knew she was ready for kindergarten. And by holding her back, I felt like we were doing her a disservice. So I thought really no harm in just trying kindergarten at home and seeing if it would go well. And then if it went well, then we would just kind of go from there. If it didn't go well, she would go into kindergarten in the same way that she was supposed to based on her birthday. The first year of homeschooling went so well. It was actually fantastic. We all really enjoyed it. It allowed us freedom to kind of travel when we wanted to travel and, be a part of different activities, church activities, and things like that. So we decided to stick with it. And quite honestly, at least for the first 3 to 4 years, it was a reevaluation every year of, whether or not we were going to stick with it. And we would always tell people, every year we evaluate whether or not we're going to continue. But we're definitely at the part in our journey now where I don't see us not homeschooling. I get the question a lot or the comment a lot. I don't know how you do it. I get that a lot. As with anything, whether your kids go to school or they're homeschooled or they're private schooled or whatever the case may be, you have good days and you have bad days. That's just the reality of the situation. And I mean, it's the same with adults, right? We have good days and we have bad days. So it's honestly, yes, I'm with them all the time, but we absolutely love homeschooling. We love the fact that it's offered us so much flexibility in our lives. So that's kind of our journey. All right, so this is our wet ingredients. I'm gonna go ahead and mix that together and might as well just mix it in here. We'll need almost 3 cups of flour. Or no, we need a little over 3 cups of flour actually. So I'm gonna measure with the grams because I have the scale and it makes it so easy. So I need 540 grams, which is a good amount of flour. A half cup of sugar into this. I'm adding 1 teaspoon of salt to this, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, and you know we gotta sift. At one point I had a smaller sifter, which worked really nicely, and it broke. All right, 3. Okay, now we grate the cold butter for this recipe. If you have a pastry cutter, you can use that to kind of mix in the cold butter. Again, you can use your crank cheese shredder if you want. Oh, this butter is from the freezer, by the way. You can just use it from your fridge, but we always have butter in the freezer because we buy it in bulk. This is so much easier in the crank one. Why am I doing this? I mean, so much easier, y'all. I'm not doing this. I'm not gonna make things harder on myself. Are you ready for how much easier this is? That probably took me 1/8 of the amount of time it was going to. All right, all that goes into your flour mixture. So we need 2 full sticks for what I'm doing. Also, I would encourage you, there are so many different recipes for scones. I mean, some use buttermilk, some use heavy cream, some use cornstarch. I mean, they're literally all over the place. That you obviously don't have to use sourdough. That's just my preference and I always have it. So go with whatever your comfort level is. And also for this recipe, I'm using fresh cranberries. But you don't have to. You can use frozen, you can use dried. The dried ones are gonna be sweeter. The fresh cranberries are gonna be more tart. So it all depends on that ending flavor that you're looking for. If you want a sweeter scone, then go with the dried version. And you can also rehydrate them too, if that's your preference. Getting all the butter out of here. And then before I clean this up, I really need to move along. So your best tool is your hands for this one, okay? So you're just gonna mix the butter with the flour. We're not really doing much. We're just making sure that the butter is coated in flour. That's really it at this point, okay? Into this, I'm gonna add about 2 cups of cranberries. And like I said, I'm using the whole ones, the fresh ones, but use whatever your preference is. Mix that in. And now we're gonna mix in the wet ingredients. Take your wet ingredients and mix it straight into here and it makes a shaggy dough. Or I know this isn't technically the way you're supposed to do it, but I do feel like the mixer makes it super easy. We're gonna add in, and I'm not gonna, okay. I'm just gonna pull the dough together. I'm not worried about it being completely mixed, which means I'm not gonna go on a high speed here. Now, another reason I do like to do it this way is because it breaks the cranberries a little bit. And I don't mind the whole cranberries in there, but I do actually like when they're broken up a little bit. And you can put them in your food processor or your blender and kind of puree them. Not puree, but pulse it so that you get them broken up. But this does it for me, so. Okay, there we go. Let me clean my counter because that's the next step. We're gonna be using my counter as the nice floured surface. And actually, you know what? It is time. I'm gonna go ahead and run the dishwasher because we got a lot going on in here today, y'all. I gotta clean the counter because the dough, we're gonna roll it out. And so like I said, typically what you would do, if you're making one recipe, you're gonna take all of your dough, you're gonna form it into a circle and then cut your scones, but that's not how I do it. Already, even if I was only making one recipe, I would form 2 circles and then cut my scones because we want mini scones. Okay, here's how I do this. Parchment paper on a baking sheet. Take flour. I use this shaker here, but you don't have to have this. I mean, it just makes it easy to put flour all over wherever your work surface is. Some sort of pastry cutter, knife thing, something of that nature, okay? We're going to get all of the dough off here. I am filming another video right now that is cake box things, which you guys know I home make my cake boxes, but it's things you can make with a box of cake mix. And there's this dessert over here. It's not coming out of the pan properly, but they're so good. And the issue is the pan and my sprayer on the avocado oil spray, but I really wish it was coming out right because they're so cute if they work out the right way. So we're going to kind of get it together because we need to cut it into 4s. Okay, so that's all of our dough there. Now I'm gonna cut it into 4, like I said, just roughly 4. It doesn't have to be perfect. Slide your quadrants over. And now we're gonna need more flour. Do that same thing again. So you're gonna shape this section into a circle. Circle-ish, okay? I like to have mine about 1.5 inches thick to about something like that. I mean, y'all know my spatial awareness is extremely poor, but something of that nature, okay? Now we can take, you need some more flour on the top just so things aren't sticking. I mean, there's a lot of butter in this. And then each little, it's like cutting a pie or pizza, okay? So you're cutting all the pieces until you get all of these little triangles. Then you need to lay them out on a baking sheet. You need them to be about 1.5 inches apart though, because once they bake, they are going to rise, they're gonna spread, and they will stick together, which honestly is not a huge deal because, I mean, I've put them close together and then kind of gone through with my little pastry thing and broken them apart. Not a big deal at all. But if you want them to be all separate in the baking, then make sure that they are about 2 inches or so apart. All right, and then just repeat the same thing for each one of these. Like I said, this is a lot of scones, okay? You don't need to make this many. And you can also just make them regular size. I just prefer the mini scones. They need to go in the freezer for at least 30 minutes. So I'm gonna put this in the freezer while I do the rest of them, and then we'll finish up what all is going with dinner, take them out of the freezer and bake them. Okay friends, for sanity's sake, moving back to dinner, while those scones are in the freezer, I'm gonna go ahead and get these potatoes ready. So I went ahead and peeled them. Opt for the less fat sweet potatoes just because when we're making French fry shapes, it's just easier. So cutting them remotely into French fry shapes, and then we'll just toss them there into that bowl. They don't have to be perfect. At least nobody in my family will care. You do want them to be relatively the same size though, just so that the cook time is fairly even. I also just realized that for this recipe, I need my largest baking sheet and it has scones on it. So I will probably cook the scones. Yeah, we'll bake the scones, and then when they're done, I'll put dinner in. So I was thinking I could maybe bake the scones later tonight, but I'm gonna need the baking sheet before then. So gotta time everything when you're prepping. This meal was so good. My husband and I were talking about it for like days afterward because everything was just so good about it. It's the sauce though. We're gonna make a sauce that goes on the top, and it is just delicious. All right, remember that sauce that we made for the chicken? There's not a whole lot, but you know what? Let's add a little bit more oil. These are gonna need more anyway. Okay, mix, mix, mix. We're gonna put that in here, and we're just gonna toss. I'm gonna toss the sweet potatoes in this. So same flavor as the chicken. That's why we reserved some of it for in here. Okay, we're about to get the scones out. It's been almost 30 minutes. I'll preheat my oven. I believe the oven is 425 if I remember correctly. Preheat the oven, get those scones in. These are nice and tossed. They smell so good. That marinade just smells amazing. We'll make the yogurt sauce that goes with this. It's so good, you guys. Guess what, friends? I was gathering the ingredients to make this sauce that I've made before, and I know exactly what goes in it, and I am out of cilantro, and it requires a significant amount of cilantro, so guess where we're headed? To the grocery store. Okay, I am home. Got the cilantro. I need to preheat my oven to 400, you are not supposed to be in here. I need to preheat my oven to 425 degrees for the scones. I'm gonna go ahead and bake those now. They're taking overall about 30 minutes, but I need to bake them, which should be good timing to get dinner in and have dinner ready by like 6 or 6:15 at this point. The scones are going in the 425 degree oven for 5 minutes. Then at 5 minutes, we're gonna lower it to 375. They'll bake for about 15 to 20 minutes. That's the oven telling me that it's ready. So let's get both of those pans in there. I'm gonna put both of them in there together, and then these will be done in overall about 30 minutes. Actually, I forgot, I can't fit two of that size in there. So this sauce that we're making to go with dinner, I can promise you, you don't wanna skip. It is very, very good. It is the game changer for the dinner, okay? So this is cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, I'm not even sure what to tell you on this one, because I do feel like cilantro is truly what made this sauce so good. You could maybe try parsley, maybe some oregano, throw some of your other favorite herbs in there, but it's definitely gonna change the flavor. Honestly, if you don't like cilantro, I would probably just skip this sauce altogether and just make the, I guess you could do like a tzatziki, however you say it. I guess you could do something like that instead. I don't know, y'all, the cilantro takes it over the top, so it's so good. All right, so we need, and I'm gonna actually make more than I made last time because we ended up eating on it for days afterward because we liked it. So I'm starting with about a half cup of cilantro, and you want this packed, so it's a decent amount. I have heard from so many people that cilantro is one of the easiest herbs to grow. I cannot. I have had no success with cilantro. Even in my indoor garden, I have no problem growing the majority of things that I've put in there, not cilantro. I don't know what it is. I have to buy it every time. And I've tried it in my outdoor garden, indoor garden, all the things. I mean, I'm gonna keep trying because we like it so much. Okay, remember, you gotta store the rest of your cilantro in a cup with water in your fridge. You know what I just realized? I forgot to brush the tops of the scones with whipping cream. All right, we'll do it on the next round. We need to lower it now to 375 anyway. So typically what I do with the scones is brush the top with whipping cream and then sprinkle on some sugar. I'll do that in the next round. They'll be fine without it. It just adds a little extra. Okay, let's add 2 teaspoons of lime juice. Now last time, instead of garlic powder, I just added some garlic cloves, and that's what I'm gonna do again. Okay, pinch of salt. Let me grab a jalapeno from the garden. Okay, it's a little one, but it's red, so it's gonna be hot. I'm just gonna cut off the end and then take the seeds out and throw it in. It'll all get mixed together. We need some Greek yogurt, at least a cup. So I'm starting with this one, and then I'll add from another one. I actually made my own Greek yogurt the other day. It's something I used to do a lot. And I was reminded at Thanksgiving when one of our friends was here, when she was talking about making yogurt, I was like, why did I stop doing that? I couldn't remember. So I made my own Greek yogurt the other day, and we're gonna add some of that. Let's add a few green onions and about a teaspoon of chili powder. Now we're gonna blend this together, which is a bit of a challenge just because it doesn't have much liquid in it. It'll work, you just have to blend, shake, back and forth. Really didn't have to shake it this time. It blended really nicely. Last time, I think I had to take it out, shake it around, but that was good. Okay, so our sauce is made. We're waiting on the scones to come out, and then I'll have to bake more scones later, I guess, because we need that baking sheet. Okay, now that my baking sheet is free, I've got my chicken out of the refrigerator. It's been marinating for several hours now. It's gonna be delicious. Let's just throw that on the center of the sheet pan. And we'll give the sweet potatoes one last toss just to make sure that they're nice and coated. And we'll spread all over the pan. I'll kind of spread them out. The oven is preheated already to 375 because that's what the scones were on anyway, which is perfect. Last time I do believe that I turned the sweet potatoes. I opened up the oven, turned them halfway through just to make sure they were getting a nice even cook. Okay, so these are gonna cook for about 15 minutes on 375. Then we're gonna broil for 5 to 8 minutes or so, just kind of depending. We'll watch it very closely. I usually err on the side of caution when broil is on, and so you're looking at more like closer to 5, but it all depends on your oven, obviously, as well. Before I put these scones in, the chicken is about to come out literally any second. This is what I meant before. I forgot to do this. I forgot to brush the tops of each one with some of the cream. So your heavy cream, or in my case, with light whipping cream. So just FYI, it's been 7 minutes on the broil function. And when I checked at 5, they were looking good, but I felt like 2 to 3 more minutes was really gonna be perfect. Okay, let me check this. Turn that off so it can cool down, because these are gonna go in while we eat dinner, which will make it nice and convenient. Okay, so you're just brushing these. Now, I'm actually curious because I don't know that I have made scones without doing this before. So I'll be curious. I wanna taste both and see if there's really that much of a difference. You can see since these came out of the freezer, this is freezing right on the top. Coarse sugar is better for this, but this is what I have. Just take some of your sugar and just sprinkle on the top. It's just like if you were salting something. But coarse sugar, like, what's it called? Baker's sugar or something like that. It looks really pretty because it's the bigger granules. Okay, so let me get my oven back to 425, I believe is what it was. And it's almost there because it was already on. This is about to go in for 5 minutes at that 425, and that's when I'll prep all of our plates, and then we'll be ready to eat. If you want, you can go ahead and just pour the sauce that you made all over the top, or you can serve it on the side, whatever your preference is. We're gonna get plates warmed. We typically do this before dinner. We warm our plates in the microwave. Ours are also oven safe as well, but that just helps. It keeps your dinner warm longer. If you've ever been to a good steak restaurant, they always bring it out on a 500-degree plate. So it just makes sure that your food is gonna stay nice and warm. Let's try one of these sweet potatoes. They're perfectly cooked. We're good. So grab a piece of chicken and some sweet potatoes. Now, right now, it's all very orange, right? It's all the same color. However, now you take that sauce. Ooh, I made it a little thinner this time. This will be interesting. Trust me, it's just so good. All right, so remember we had this the other night. I'm making it again because we both loved. I didn't film it, and we were like, this is really good. We need to have this again. You need a fork, huh?
Yeah, what was the...
It's a cilantro,
seasoning?
yogurt
kind
of sauce.
Okay.
So sweet potato.
Sweet potato first with a lot of the...
The sauce is so good. Heavy on cilantro, but very, very good. Hang on, I gotta turn the oven down. It's so good. Y'all, I don't know why people aren't making sheet pan dinners, because we actually said the other night, this might be our favorite one we've ever had.
Yeah.
As far as sheet pan dinners go.
It's so good.
It really is. All the flavors of the chicken are on point. The sauce is delicious. The sweet potatoes are cooked nicely.
You broiled it for a bit to get that
crispiness. And I think you could do that even longer to get the crispiness on the potatoes if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
But y'all.
That's delicious.
It's so good.
This is a good one.
Yeah. Cranberry Orange Scones.
It is cold.
What?
This is that time of year when it gets
freezing.
cold in your bones and you can't warm up.
There's no recovery.
What were the last scones you did?
Chocolate chip.
Oh, yeah.
The cranberry is really tart. Like really, really tart.
What do you think?
I think it's really good. I think it needs more sugar.
That's what I was going to say. It lacks a little bit of sweetness.
Yep. Other than that,
good.
yeah, you can taste the orange, you can taste the cranberry, but I think it needs a little more sugar.
And I think it's because if the cranberry were not as tart,
Yeah.
I don't think it would.
If you were using the dried cranberries that are sweeter,
right.
then you definitely wouldn't need more sugar.
Yep.
But I think that's what it is the tartness of those cranberries. I mean, it's still good. We will definitely still eat all of them. But yeah, I think that's...
But some may like scones that aren't that sweet.
You know what would solve it? I'm going to make this tomorrow. I'll come back. I was actually going to freeze these tonight. I'm going to make an orange glaze to go over the top.
Yeah.
I feel like that would take up the sweetness just a little bit to exactly what it needs to be.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't like overly sweet scones or overly sweet things, this is the way to go. It's still very good because that cranberry comes through in every bite, but it lacks that little bit of sugar.
Normally what I do at this point is I put them in one of our freezer bags and just store them in the freezer. Then whenever somebody's gonna come over or we need them, we take them out. They need like 30 minutes or so to thaw out and they're ready to go. You can freeze them before you bake them or after you bake them. For me, I just prefer to freeze them after I bake them because then I don't have to worry about baking again. But I did wanna mention these bags that we got on Amazon. They have been super helpful. I have 3 of them. 2 usually stay in the freezer and 1 usually stays in the microwave with whatever our current bread is that we're using. Bread, scones, bagels, English muffins, everything. These bags are lined and so they just go right in the freezer and it keeps things so fresh.
Yep.
With the drawstring. This was such a great investment. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm done tonight. I cannot do anything else today. But I'm gonna make that orange glaze for tomorrow. So I'm gonna leave these out. We won't put them in the freezer yet. And I'll show you what that looks like in the morning. And I really think that that's gonna be the perfect amount of sweetness for these. Thank you for spending the day with me, getting all the things done. I'll show you in the morning very quickly the orange glaze that I'm gonna make for these, and then they're gonna go in the freezer and we can just have them whenever. Don't forget, you gotta make that sheet pan because it is delicious. And then scones. I think that's all we made in this one today. And the cake box mix. Okay, friends, I'm back to make the orange glaze for these scones because I do think that it's gonna make a difference. So I've got a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, confectioner sugar, whatever you call it, whatever you would like to call it. And we are going to zest 1 orange. Now we need to add about 4 tablespoons or so of orange. Is that the wind? Of orange juice. So I'm gonna just like juice. We're gonna start with 1/2. And I mean, I know that's not gonna be 4 tablespoons, but maybe we will do the whole one. All right, now that's more of the glaze that I'm looking for. All right, let's glaze one of these and give it a try. They don't need much, so you're really just like, just a barely little bit of drizzle here on each one. And typically you'd wanna let this kind of harden up. Let's give it a try. You wanna try this?
Yeah.
See if the glaze helps. I know we already did a closing to this video, but you know, you don't even need a mic, just, here you go.
Oh, yeah.
Scone with orange glaze. That definitely helps them be a little bit sweeter.
Yeah, I know they get angry, but just say then you can just drizzle as much as you want for the sweetness.
Yeah, that's good like that. I really like that. Okay, I'm gonna drizzle the rest.
Our verse today comes from Micah 6:8. He has told you, O man, what is good,
And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God? I hope you enjoyed today's video. I absolutely love making this style of video where I just get to spend all day in the kitchen with you, and I hope that you feel like you're hanging out with a friend. If you'd like to see more videos just like this, click the video that I have right here above. You're going to get awesome inspiration. I hope you have a great week.